Prosocial behavior can be defined as an action that promote or protect the welfare of individual, group, or organization. So some implication for the employee regarding the prosocial, which behavior may benefit individual by allowing them to feel good about helping others, boosting their self-esteem, and even obtain nurturing. Meanwhile, for employees, it can also improve the performance in organizational setting, since it also drives motivation to engage in such behavior. However, it also can give negative job performance in a certain situation, such as the desire to help others become a burden or weight one motivation to fulfill more critical job responsibility. So there are 4 factors that influence the prosocial behavior in this research, which is the green performance management, green selection and recruitment, green training and development, and lastly, green reward. The aim of this study to examine the relationship between GHRM and the prosocial behavior among employees in YB management service at Kulai Johor. Global ecological difficulties have made it difficult for the business organization to adopt the GHRM practice to lessen the effect of resource waste and still be in green. This is because the organization may gain profit commercially from refusing the obligation and sustainability standard into their system, strategies, and fundamental corporate practice. So the lack of proactive corporate social responsibility, or known as CSR approaches in the corporate organization, has contributed to the social and environmental issue in the long term. According to the study, 27.4% of the company irregularly exempt, and 32.4% lack of research regarding the impact of CSR on the employee, local community, client, contractor, and the natural environment. It shows that this issue has been insufficiently investigated, and HRM experts are not acknowledged as a compliance in impacting CSR procedure, nor is HRM a key implementer of CSR activity and project. So the next problem is lack of awareness regarding the environmental issue among employees. According to this study, HRM is spread by countless essential mechanisms such as training and development, which those practices do not directly impact to the employee behavior. Even so, the existing body of knowledge has not truly studied linkage between green conduct, like a pro-environmental behavior, and sustainability and representative work environment, despite growing academic interest in GHRM issue. There are 6 research questions. For the first question is, what is the perceived level of the prosocial behavior indicated by the employees? For the second one is, what is the relationship between GHRM and the prosocial behavior? Next, what is the relationship between green recruitment and selection and the prosocial behavior? Then, what is the relationship between the green training and development and the prosocial behavior? Then, what is the relationship between green reward and prosocial behavior? Lastly, what is the relationship between green performance management and the prosocial behavior? For the research objective, there are 6 objectives. For the first one is to identify the perceived level of the prosocial behavior indicated by the employees. Second one is to ascertain the relationship between GHRM and the prosocial behavior, which is to determine the relationship between the green recruitment and selection and the prosocial behavior. The second one is to determine the relationship between the green training and development and the prosocial behavior. And the second last is to determine the relationship between green reward and the prosocial behavior. And lastly, to determine the relationship between green performance management and the prosocial behavior.
Next, I'll explain about the conceptual framework. Based on the figure, this is our conceptual framework, and we have 4 independent variables such as green selection and recruitment, green training development, green rewards, and last one, green performance management. While for the dependent variable is prosocial behavior, we have tabled the independent variable, and each independent variable have own hypothesis. For example of independent variable is green selection and recruitment, which we have breakdown into null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. For the null hypothesis, which is there is no relationship between selection and recruitment with prosocial behavior, while for alternative hypothesis that there is no relationship between selection and recruitment with prosocial behavior. Next, I will proceed to explain the research method. For the research design, We use quantitative method and cross-sectional survey to examine the relationship between green human resource and prosocial behavior. Questionnaire are tools for the quantitative study, while for cross-sectional survey is observational and also called descriptive research. Next, for the unit of analysis, were the individual employees at YB Management Kulai, Johor. For the sample size, we collect 30 respondents for our research and use random sampling technique to choose to represent the group. Furthermore, for the data collection, we divide it into 3 sections, which is Section 1 for demographic data of the respondent, Section 2 and 3 are multiple choice questions. But for Section 2, we measure the green human resource factors such as green training and development, green selection and recruitment, green performance management, and green reward. For the Section 3, we wanted to examine the level of prosocial behavior among the employee. While for data analysis, we use descriptive statistics to measure the mean, standard deviation, minimum and maximum value, and Pearson correlation to find the relationship between independent variable and dependent variable. Next, based on the finding on demographic table, male have the highest respondent, which is 23 frequency, while for the highest education level is bachelor's degree with 15 frequency, and mostly are not aware of the green human resources, which answer no with 16 while yes is 14, while for prosocial behavior also no, which consists of 17, and while yes is only 13. For the main findings, the first objective is to examine the level of prosocial behavior between the employee, and the analysis we use are Pearson correlation. The result we get is at medium level, which is based on the mean score table. The value obtained are at 3.0867, which is at medium level. Based on the comparison between past and recent study, it can be concluded that the level of prosocial behavior are different in every institution and not fully adapting the prosocial behavior. For the second objective, we wanted to measure the relationship between green human resources and prosocial behavior. Under the green human resources, we wanted to examine the relationship between green selection and recruitment with prosocial behavior. And the analysis we use are Pearson correlation, and the result we found are statistically significant and to be positive at 0.652, which is based on the mean score level, we are at medium level. And this we can see that the YB management services did not fully implement the selection and recruitment based on environmental perspective. For the next objective is we wanted to examine the relationship between green training and development with prosocial behavior. The analysis we use are Pearson correlation also, and the result we found is at statistically significant and positive, which is at 0.585, and the mean score we discover as a medium level. Green training and development are important for the organization in order to increase the knowledge of the employee regarding the environmental issue. Based on the hypothesis result, we can see that the alternative hypothesis is accepted and reject the null hypothesis. And this same goes with others independent variables, and the analysis we use are all based on Pearson correlation, and all are significantly positive and have medium level of knowledge of prosocial behavior.
In terms of practical implication, the research provides useful and valuable information to understand GHRM better, which can provide improve prosocial behavior. So the study indicates that there are 4 factors have a significant relationship with the prosocial behavior, including the green reward, green selection and recruitment, green training and development, and green performance management. So the green reward was found to have a more significant relationship with the prosocial behavior among the other factors. According to Bernabeu, reward create doubt about the true motive for good deeds, which may induce a partial or even mad crowding out prosocial behavior by extreme initiative. So YB management can strengthen the great reward and other factor as they all have the positive relationship, even it is not strong with the prosocial behavior. It shows that employee in the YB management service prefer green reward since reward may motivate them to engage within prosocial behavior. For the methodological contribution, so this study focused on green reward as the most contributing factor to the prosocial behavior. This can be seen in the study which examines whether GHRM impact the prosocial behavior among the employee in the YB management service. Next, this study employed quantitative survey design. However, the quantitative survey in this study only involved a small scale sample because YB management service is a small local corporate company with a fewer than 50 employees. Nevertheless, the respondent YB management service able to provide response and bias that can be avoided as the respondents are randomly picked. The first limitation is lack of sample. One of the limitations in this study is the sample size is only for the YB management employee, which this company have less than 100 employees. So a small sample size make it difficult for the researcher to determine a particular outcome because it increases the chances of assuming a false premise. In the future, the study may expand the sample size to the multinational company or other corporate companies which have more than 60 employees in the organization in order to do a comparison of the level of prosocial behavior among employees between the local and the international corporate companies. So it can be interesting to find out which corporate company have a high level of prosocial behavior. For the second limitation is cross-sectional and longitudinal survey. According to the study, the cross-sectional survey is a type of observational study design in which the researcher measure the outcome and the exposure in the study participant at the same time. For the longitudinal survey, it is a type of correlational research which observe the same group or individual and collect the data on the variable without trying to influence them over the period of time. In this study, the researcher using a cross-sectional survey design in which the researcher collect the primary data from different department in YB management service at a single point in the time to examine the relationship between the GHRM and the prosocial behavior. However, it is difficult for the researcher to establish cause and effect relationship because of the one-time measurement of both the alike cause and effect. In the future, the researcher may use a longitudinal survey to establish better real cause and effect relationship between the GHRM and the level of prosocial behavior among the employee. Lastly, the weaknesses of quantitative study. The researcher using a quantitative method that explains the issue of phenomenon by collecting data in numerical form and analyzing it with the mathematical method. So since the study is conducted during the COVID-19 pandemic, the questionnaire was distributed online using Google Form and email as the main platform to keep in touch with the YB management service Johor. However, the data obtained may not accurate, so the respondent may hide the truth or not giving the right answer as the researcher wanted due to the protecting the individual and organizational image.
To summarize, this study provides a better understanding of green human resource management and prosocial behavior. The green human resources management practices such as green selection and recruitment, green reward, green training and development, and green performance management have significantly impacted the prosocial behavior among the employee. It can be seen in the level of prosocial behavior, which is medium and related to green reward. Same goes with other independent variables. Thus, we can say that the green human resources management and prosocial behavior are applying in the YB management services, but it is not practiced fully in the organization. That's all from us. Thank you.